Well, this was used to silence anybody else that was going to investigate this. You know.
And by the way, see, those sheriffs right then should have just arrested those feds. I mean, clearly, you're covering this up. You were involved. But see, not in America now. Oh, you're a Fed. Oh, let me grovel to you. But again, dovetailing this, look at Fast and Furious. Look at how they were shipping the guns into Mexico, drugs back in. It's even in the New York Times now, but nobody's in trouble.
And ABC just came out with internal emails saying that they were going to use this event to issue new gun control legislation. I mean, it's just out in the open now. Something else that was interesting about teriyaki is one of the hallmarks of an ammonium nitrate and fuel oil bomb is a nitric gas cloud. Anytime that it was used in Ireland 41 years ago last August in Stirling Hall, they set off an info bomb. The first 26 responders were hospitalized from inhalation of nitric gas. That did not occur at the Oklahoma City bombing. Teriyaki was on the scene within minutes and saved 8 people's lives that day. All of the survivors said that they had no problem with respiration other than a little bit of the smoke from the cars that were out front. So there was no ammonium nitrate gas, which calls into question that ANFA was even used at all.
No, they did that to then start tracking farmers and teach that, you know, the American people are terrorists. Now, again, why were they so scared of Terrence Yeagy? I mean, you interview his mother in this film. I believe that's the first time she's been interviewed in a film. I mean, folks, I can't tell you, this is a true investigative masterwork, and it's cyanide to these vampires. This is a big old bucket of holy water, a big old silver cross to Count Dracula, but you've got to get it, and you've got to use it against them. I'll just ask you on air, what's your stance on folks airing this on Access TV?
We encourage it. If anybody wants to set up a local screening, they can get in contact with us at contact@freemindfilms.com. We'll send them movie posters that they can use to promote it. Other people are talking about putting it in the libraries. They can go to InfoWars store, buy it there, put it in the libraries, get the word out.
We've had, in fact, a member of the bombing committee, very active in a local parish here in Oklahoma City, wants to do a showing at his church. We encourage that. I'm looking forward to meeting the pastor. So the word.
Well, Americans couldn't believe the government was this evil 15, 16 years ago. But doesn't Fast and Furious and Tonkin being declassified and all this stuff being out now, and that us evil 9/11 truthers question things, we've broken the ice. So people now understand this. But why do you think all these White House advisors are so arrogant? It's like 5 of them now are pleading, if we just had one, it would really help you. I mean, how dumb do they think we are to be writing articles saying, we'll blame our enemies, we really need one? And obviously the higher-ups are going, no, they're on to us, we can't do it.
They're intoxicated with arrogance, Alex, and you know all the intel on this, most of it, and what we've seen, you're right, it's absolutely unbelievable that they can get up in the morning and look at themselves in the mirror and think that they can actually get away with this. They have no value for human life, and we saw it firsthand here.
Yeah, when you look at the, all of the criteria of a psychopath, these people actually meet all of the criteria. They believe that we are actually lesser beings than they are, and they have no remorse for, riding our ashes to their own political ends.
Now, the head of the FBI's counterterrorism group claimed he was in Dallas and got a Southwest flight. Turned out he didn't fly. They have the hotel receipts. He's that arrogant. We know some of the teams that were already there. And so from your deep research, because you guys are nose to the grindstone on this, go through some more of the points, but also as best we can tell exactly who was involved in this. From my research, it's FBI, high-level government special forces, some private think tanks, some foreign intelligence operatives, and FBI.
Well, we have here in Oklahoma, in eastern Oklahoma, we have a white separatist compound called Elohim City. Now, this seemed to be a base of operations for the Oklahoma City bombing. You had FBI informant ATF informant Carol Howe was telling the ATF prior to the Oklahoma City bombing that these people were scouting out locations to attack federal buildings. There was foreknowledge there. We've got a witness, actual resident of Elohim City, that says that he can place Timothy McVeigh on site.
They were using it as a cutout, and the Southern Poverty Law Center had operatives in there, correct?
Exactly, and that's some of the documents that Jesse Trinidou has uncovered, is that there were at least 6 Southern Poverty Law Center operatives at Elohim City at the time. And, he said anytime you've got 5 people talking about overthrowing the government, 3 of them are working for the government. And it looks like they're using the Southern Poverty Law Center as a private wing of the FBI and ATF to be able to do operations that, they wouldn't normally be able to do because of, any restrictions of the institutions. Yeah. So out of that city, you got Andreas Strassmeyer. Now that's the gentleman that Jane Graham saw in the basement with the gray putty and wire. He was working out of Elohim City at the same time that McVeigh was there. So these are the players that tie all of this together.
Now, why were so many Iraqis brought in that had been brought in after the first Gulf War by Bush Sr. and Clinton? Was that a cover story or an emergency plan B to blame it on Arabs and Muslims if the domestic terror route didn't go well?
That's a red herring, Alex. I wish we could put a better thumb on that, but you're right. There were over 5,000 refugees that were located to the Midwest and the Oklahoma City area in Oklahoma. A lot of the folks that were suspect on this case, we know that some of them still live here in the city, and it's very, very disgusting to see that they weren't brought into custody. We know that some of them were complicit, but we just couldn't include that in the film because we didn't have enough definitive information.
Another thing that concerns me about that is former CIA Director Woosley is actually now publicly stating, yes, he thinks that there was Al-Qaeda involvement and such, and it looks like they're trying to use this to support the
Well, I've always said they were going to double back because those guys were trained by the CIA when Saddam was, quote, the U.S. ally. And so that's why they were brought back out. Most of them were double agents who were helping give intel on Saddam. So they were brought back out at the end of the last Gulf War. And so we know some of them were videotaped, were involved, and then were allowed to leave the country. So, again, this is a classic intel op where they've got layer after layer so that no one knows the full story but the mastermind. I wonder what Mr. Holter can tell us.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we need to hold these people accountable. They're still in positions of power today. We see that McVeigh was actually telling his family and everybody that he was actually working for the government to fly drugs into the United States and assassinate security risks. Even Terry Nichols, after he had gone through his federal and state trials, was saying that, he was ready to spill the beans about the other people that were involved. And people will question, well, if McVeigh was involved with all these other people and he was about to be put to death, why does he not, turn them out and tell them what happened? Well, I think that the presence of Dr. Jolyon West, he consulted with McVeigh's defense team after his arrest. He was the #2 psychological warfare expert in the country, just under Dr. Ewan Cameron. He worked with Patty Hearst, Saran, and Jack Ruby. Now, after that,
stay there. You can't make this up. He was the assigned doctor for him from the arrest up to the execution. Every time McVeigh was on TV, he was drugged out of his gourd. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Folks, I cannot express to you enough that exposing false flag terror is the key at this temporal level of existence to bringing down these people, because everything they do is stage a crisis, offer a solution. They stage a global financial crisis, take over society as the solution. On record. They don't even deny that. They stage, oh my gosh, carbon dioxide is deadly, the Earth's going to die, we got to tax and control everything to save the Earth. Oh my gosh, we got to take all your rights and invade and attack all these countries because you're in danger and they're going to blow stuff up. It's the oldest trick in the book, problem, reaction, solution. And again, I'm not going to push this much more. I just hope that you give the gift of truth this Christmas, whether it's all 18 of my films on DVD for 70% off, and 18 different gifts. You can do all your shopping at once. A Noble Lie, Oklahoma City 95. You get Citizen Rulebook with it, and Infowars.com, and In the Fed bumper stickers as well. That's available at Infowars.com. And, I mean, it's a life and death situation to expose that, hey, criminal elements in the government engaged in this military gambit. That's what it's called. It's really a gambit. In fact, I'll guarantee that's what they called it. To demonize domestic groups and move towards using the military against the population. That's when all that current plan went into high gear that I became aware of at Oklahoma City. That's what really pushed me to get on air. I saw that, saw the local newscast that folks were mailing down to Austin and getting on Access TV. I was seeing like a week after it was on the news of the bombs being taken out and the governor talking about it, and press conferences with Hoppy Heidelberg or General Benton K. Parton. And I was watching what Oklahomans were seeing. And because there were folks sending it down here in a network, I was seeing it on Access TV, and I said, oh, my gosh. I'd already read in history books about Hitler blowing up the Reichstag and stuff. I said, I gotta go get on air. Like, I'm getting the same chills I got back then. And boom, because it's the heart of it. It's how they sell everything else. We got to attack Iran. They're going to nuke us. We got to have checkpoints because you can't be trusted. And it's prior restraint. It's saying you're bad, you're a terrorist, you're evil. Our guest will be with us for another 20 minutes, but I tell you, they're so informed, and they've got such a great audio and video set up. I want to invite them back up next week to do part 2 because, and you know, to really have it prepared. They can send me clips they want to play, and we can kind of go through the film and do a full review. We'll also try to do it on the nightly news, but this is so important. Going back to both of these gentlemen, we're about to go to break here, but we're going to come back in the next 20 minutes, and I'm going to turn the mic off and literally go sit in the control room so you guys can get your points out. But when we come back, what is most important in smoking guns? Well, were you guys threatened? What else is important for folks to know about the film?
The way the grand jury was given the information, they were very restricted on what they could see. And Judge David Russell, oddly enough, who presided over the grand jury, was selected. He was on the short list of judges who actually selected the defense counsel. He ended up selecting McVeigh's own counsel. So this thing was rigged from day one, even on the judicial side. Hoppy Heidelberg comes forward in the movie and pretty much tells it all out. He lays it out, how he was treated, the fact that he wasn't able to get shop drawings, he wasn't able to call the witnesses, wasn't able to call the architects, get any samples of the crime scene evidence. And he was given 3 choices on the situation. The judge pretty much could have dismissed him without cause. He could have granted Hoppy's wishes on this letter that he wrote to the judge, or he could have said no, and then given reasons why he declined to give Hoppy the information. The judge took the first option of dismissing him from the grand jury without cause. Unbelievable. This is the only guy on the 12-member jury that was asking questions that were relevant to the crime.
And the FBI came to his house with their firearms threatening him.
Exactly. He was the only one that would actually read the juror's handbook, and he knew what his rights were as a federal grand juror and demanded those. They weren't going to allow that, and they had to
stay there. Back in 1 minute. We're doing part 1 of this interview live right now with our guest, the producer and the director of the film A Noble Lie, available at Infowars.com. We were just talking about Hoppy Heidelberg with his Citizens Rulebook. He actually had one of these. Same ones we sell, the Patriot one about jury nullification, all of it, the rights of a grand juror. And they got pretty upset about that. I think I talked to him years ago. From memory, I think he tried to hand these out, too, and that really made him upset. And they just wanted the cover-up to go ahead, but he's in the film. Continue, gentlemen. This is a 5-minute segment. We got a 12-minute segment coming up before you leave us, but continue breaking down A Noble Lie and the Hoppy Heidelberg point.
Well, you were talking about intimidation, and yes, Hoppy was intimidated by the FBI, or that. Well, they attempted to intimidate him. He wasn't going to have any of that. But we also interview Don Browning. He's a retired Oklahoma City police officer that worked at the K-9 unit and was there for search and rescue. He said that an FBI agent said that people that like him that ask questions often end up dead, and he said that it was the way it was presented to him. He thought it was a threat, And
of course, yeah. I mean, wow. I mean, they had their hitmen everywhere. Go ahead.
Yeah. And a lot of the people that we interview in the movie, they've stated that this is going to be the last interview they do. So, I mean, this is really the last chance that we, to really encapsulate this story into one cohesive package. We've got folks like, Jane Graham, where she said, this is it. She's not going to do another one.
Exactly. One other thing that they'll appreciate this film even more is that the gentleman that actually shot, he was our director of photography, he shot the interviews, had done the same thing on several anniversaries the last 4 or 5 years for Discovery Channel, for History Channel, for National Geographic. He knew firsthand what they, as they say, left on the cutting room floor. And when we approached him, he says, I'm going to do it right for you guys. He says, nothing is going to go on the cutting room floor if I can help it. And by gosh, if our editor kept at least 95% of the interviews on there. So people are going to see what Discovery, what National Geographic, and what History Channel refused to put on the networks. We are going to show it.
Yeah, that was our director of photography, Devin Winter, and he said that, those interview subjects said the same thing to them that they said to us. But this is the first time that it's all going to come out, because anything that contradicted the official story, with these mainstream media outlets obviously got cut.
Yeah, I've talked to Jane Graham, and in fact, since a lot of people are riding off in the sunset, you gave me, I already have a lot of their numbers, but we do need to get you guys back on. I forgot that point next week, and start having some of them on here and playing some clips just so the public realizes what we're talking about here. I mean, actually hear it from them. They've told all this to the mainstream media, and it never ends up getting out there because this isn't mainstream media. This is lying snake media that has brought our country to this point.
I see some of the hosts that we look back on the archive footage, and we know who the hosts are. Of course, they've aged quite a bit since then. I see them at basketball games. I'll see them at a Walmart or a 7-Eleven. They know who I am. They know who James is. We know who they are, and they just avoid us like the plague. They do not even want to talk about this. I mean, they were told to shut up.
Yeah, in the early hours of the bombing, all of the local news stations were telling the truth. And then after, federal boots hit the ground, the story started to change. The only station that really maintained any integrity for a few months was the local station Channel 4. But then the New York Times came in and bought them up and fired everybody that was contradicting the official story and basically silenced any dissent.